Hello everyone and welcome back to a top level game of professional StarCraft 2. What I've got for you today is a Terran versus Protoss, a best of 5 series, where in game number 1 we find ourselves on the map Waterfall. The spawning here in the top right hand corner, playing with the red Protoss probes from the United States of America, we have Astrea. His opponent in the opposite corner with the blue Terran SCVs, he's from South Korea and he goes by the name of ByuN. Alrighty, now as of me recording this video, it is the 24th of December, and I'm also planning on uploading this video today. So before this series properly starts off, as ByuN already goes for a cheeky little barracks over here right outside of his main base, I wanted to just take a very quick moment to wish you all a very Merry Christmas. I know a lot of you are celebrating it either today or tomorrow. I mean, personally, in the Netherlands, we celebrate it on both the 25th and the 26th, which maybe is a little bit weird, but anyways, I hope you have an awesome next couple of days, and yeah, thank you very much for watching my content. I appreciate you. Either way, this particular series was recently played during HomeStory Cup 22, so this is the lower bracket grand finals. I know tournament formats can be a little bit confusing, but essentially there were two phases to the HomeStory Cup tournament, and that's usually how most of the weekend tournaments in StarCraft 2 work out. First off, we had a group stage with 8 players that all played against each other, and then the top 4 moved on. And then in the second phase of the tournament, there was a playoff section with a double elimination bracket. Double elimination essentially means that you can lose once. However, if you lose a second time, you end up, well, being eliminated out of the entire tournament. What I'm getting at is that these two had played against each other before in the upper bracket. At the time, it was ByuN who ended up winning 3-1 over Astrea, knocking Astrea down towards the lower bracket. Astrea then had to face off against Clem, he won 3-1. He had to face off against Zaun, he ended up winning 3-0. And then, in the meantime, in the upper bracket, ByuN got defeated by Raynor, knocking him down to the lower bracket as well. So these two, they faced off against each other a second time. The winner of this series goes up against Raynor in the grand finals. That was a pretty fun series as well, but at the very least from what I heard, this series was actually a lot better than the grand finals. I was, of course, there physically at the tournament, but this was also at the end of a very long couple of days of casting StarCraft 2 and interacting with a lot of people, so even though I was there, I was technically watching, I think actually the World Cup games, the finals that is, were being played at the exact same time as this series. So I was kind of following along. I of course know who ends up winning this series, but I didn't have a close look at it just yet. So we're gonna find out together exactly what ended up going down. Now I think we all know that ByuN is very good, right? I think we all know that ByuN is a fantastic StarCraft 2 player. Astrea, definitely someone, okay, just got the kill on the Reaper. Astrea, however, has been getting a lot better over the last couple of years. So, in the HomeStory Cup prior to the one that just wrapped up, Astrea ended up taking 3rd, which is very, very impressive. And he was, well, obviously I named a couple of names of people that he defeated. Like, for example, Clem. He's been looking very solid, and he's been getting better over time. So, Astrea definitely not someone to sleep on here, because he is certainly someone who can win against everybody, right? There's players out there that, on a good day, can defeat anybody. And Astrea is very much so one of those guys right now. Anyhow, we've got ourselves a Stargate opener right here from the American Protoss. He's going to go for a couple of Phoenixes. Doesn't want to show the Phoenixes just yet. With the Reaper dead, obviously he doesn't really have to be too concerned about anything popping into the main base there. I'm personally a big fan of Phoenixes. I think they're awesome. Super powerful unit. Really fun to play with. And if you micro them correctly, you can get a ridiculous amount of value. So how many are we going to save up before we stop chasing each other's tail here? There's already a Twilight Council that's just finished up, so wouldn't be surprised if we're going to be seeing an upgrade coming out of that here momentarily. Obviously, you're always limited by the amount of gas, but we're coming up on 100 right now. There it is. It's going to be charged. Matter of fact, drop, trying to sneak in through the right side of the map. ByuN gets a glimpse of the Phoenixes and nopes out of there. Now, at the very least, he knows what he's going up against. He already decided to go for the Raven in the meantime at home as well, so relatively safe opener. Even now going for a Cyclone as well. That must be a response to seeing those Phoenixes. Despite the fact that Cyclones, generally speaking, get picked off by the Phoenixes, they can still be really good at pushing away those Protoss units. 3rd Nexus is already coming up as well for Astrea. Yeah, he doesn't know that he's been spotted yet, I don't think. He must have had a glimpse of it on the minimap as well, but he probably wasn't paying exact attention to the quarter of a second that there was a blue dot there. Now, I love this. This is a very brave Hellion driver, okay? He's saying, yo, pick me up, guys. Hey, Phoenixes, I know you guys are gonna head across the map very soon. You guys should totally pick me up. I'm definitely not standing on a couple of Widow Mines. Sadly here, though, for ByuN. Maybe luckily here for the Hellion driver. The Phoenixes, they are escaping the main base through the right side of the map. Astrea still believing that he has been unscouted. Plenty of Marines available right now. Sniping the Raven, obviously, is very nice as well, though. So maybe that's what he's looking for. Astrea playing very conservatively with these units. Even now going for an Oracle on the back of it as well. Yeah. He's been looking around the map. He knows that there's no quick third CC. And obviously if you have... Ooh, here we go, by the way. I'm actually going to back off for a second. I can't believe I missed that epic moment here. He obviously knows that he's got the... So now he scouts it. Nicely done. I love that. Now he knows, of course, that he is playing 2 base, or he's going up against a Terran with 2 bases, and if he's got 3 himself, life is pretty sweet. Luckily, though, a Oracle was also produced in that Stargate, so at the very least, it's not like those 2 Widow Mines get to go home. A lot of Zealots available at this point. Wolof just barely completes right there in time. Most of the Zealots have already charged, so honestly, yeah. I mean, it's nice to close the distance, I guess, with the Zealot enhancements, but... plenty of army units available right here for ByuN to push back that force. So it's a triple Rex right here from ByuN. He's going to be finishing up combat shields as well as Stimpack right around the same time. When both of those upgrades finish up, the +1 infantry weapons will be a little bit behind that. But when both of those upgrades finish up, obviously those Marines, they hit quite the power spike. And there's a good opportunity for them at that point to get some damage done on the other side of the map. Only 3 Phoenixes remain. The question always is, do you want to go back to Phoenix production, right? So 2 Phoenixes really don't do a whole lot. So yeah, he's trying to produce a couple once again, but you also don't really want to be putting all of your eggs into just the Phoenix basket. Astrea right now setting up a surround here, trying to come in from the side. Okay, he wants to collapse on top of this army, but he doesn't know exactly where, it's located. ByuN, in the meantime, just marches straight into the opponent's natural. Auto turret goes down as well. That is a really nicely positioned auto turret because those Zealots are very busy attacking it rather than the actual biological units. Honestly, fantastic here so far for ByuN. Not really dropping the ball. Marauders in the front as well, tanking the vast majority of the damage. And while they do get sliced up eventually, there's a lot of damage being done right here by the South Korean Terran player. Looking absolutely fantastic here in game number 1. Yeah, cheeky little move, right? It all started with that Hellion driver. Even though I believe he's super dead. Yeah. He doesn't know it. But he gave his life for the Terran Dominion, and he's put ByuN in a fantastic spot. Even though the first army here gets cleaned up, Astrea doesn't have much to deal with this, right? Now, one thing he does have, though, is a pretty decent eco. I say that, even though he's just lost 21 workers. If he manages to hold on here without losing a whole lot more, he can start reproducing his economy as well. Because only just now is when the 3rd command center has come up for ByuN. Good control right here out of Micro Jackson, trying to keep as many of those units alive. Not a lot of anti-air. Battery overcharge is pretty sweet. Yeah, infantry weapons level 1 finished just now. ByuN a little bit late on that upgrade. The problem is, right, even if ByuN goes back right now, in this matchup, it's the Protoss who is supposed to have the slightly bigger eco. And now the economies are similar. Yeah. I feel like even if ByuN just decides to sit back, he's still going to be in a fantastic spot. Astrea knows at this point, obviously, that his back is up against the wall, so that maybe gives him a little bit of wiggle room as well, right? You can always try and go for an all-in when you already assume you're going to lose, 10 out of 11 games here. You may as well try to, put all of your eggs in one basket and, well, picking up a couple of reinforcements here. Not a terrible idea. Good force field as well in the meantime over at the 3rd base, but this army for the Protoss just doesn't look big enough. Battery overcharge was already used, although it is going to come off cooldown. There's the Phoenixes once again joining in. Not a lot of anti-air available. Just not a lot of units available for Protoss. Yep. Valiant effort right here from Astrea. There's the battery once again, but that one will get sniped. And I believe as soon as he loses this battle, that is going to be the end for this game. There's a lot more Terran units now marching through the center as well. They've even used Stimpack to try and reinforce this as quickly as possible. Yep, GG. Alright, next up, we find ourselves on Data C. I fast-forwarded through the first minute of the game, just because that means we can get to the action a little bit quicker. Astrea does not want to get proxied here by ByuN, by, well, his Terran opponent building a barracks right over there in the natural of the Protoss. That happens from time to time. That does mean he needs to send that probe quite early, but at the very least, that Nexus will go up uncontested. ByuN, though, putting his structure inside of his main base this time around. Pretty quick gas geyser as well here, if I'm not mistaken, so we'll probably see a factory here coming up relatively soon. One pesky little probe, though, scouting around exactly what's going on. Command center on the low ground, though, eventually does start up as well. And Jimmy, he's been tasked with pushing back that probe. Okay, that should be the factory. There we go. Okay. There's always the debate, right? Is it a good idea to put your structures where they could block your own units in one of the later stages of the game? This has been a debate for many, many years in StarCraft 2. So when you think about it, say a Reaper wants to get into the main base right now of the Protoss player. It would have to jump up once, a second time, and then it gets blocked by a bunch of structures. Obviously a great idea, and I don't think it's a bad call at all on this map. But on many maps, when you try to create that like choke point for the Reaper to get stuck in the end, you're really only making it difficult for yourself. Because Terran units are all ranged. There is no melee Terran unit other than, I guess, the SCV. So usually if you create these really tight wall-offs as a Protoss player, you're actually, well, sometimes making it more difficult for yourself in the mid-game. This is still a little bit vulnerable because obviously, especially someone like ByuN, very happy to just, well, load a bunch of units into a medevac and then drop them right over here, right? There's a very good chance that at some point the Cybernetics Core can get cancelled, and when you lose the Cyber Core, you can't make any Stalkers, you can't make any Sentries, you can't make any Adepts. Life becomes a little bit trickier, so yeah, this has been a lifelong debate. Is it a good idea to wall off against Reapers, or do you just take the hit in the earlier stages of the game and be slightly safer in the mid-game instead? Anyhow, a lot of StarCraft 2 matches are decided before the 6-minute mark. Maybe even before the 4-minute mark. So, very ambitious. Very ambitious Hellion driver once more. Man, the Hellions really are the heroes so far, huh? One probe, really. I guess he wanted to just see what the, well, tech route was going to be here of the Protoss. So, since he saw the Twilight Council, he knew that there really wasn't any reason to drive any further. Getting one probe for his troubles is better than nothing. So, quick blink. Has to be blink at this point. I mean, technically speaking, I guess it could be charged. But this is a very normal opener from Protoss. How many gateways do we have in total? Okay, we're gonna go up to 4. That does mean that Astrea is likely gonna move across the map as well, and at the very least poke and prod at those Terran units if he can. Once again, a Raven opener here from ByuN. So this was one of the most commonly asked questions in Twitch chat while the tournament was going on. Is this played on the new patch? It is not. Despite the fact that ByuN is going for, yeah, a Raven here very rapidly, the new patch is still only available on the StarCraft 2 PTR. Pretty significant list of balance changes, actually. If you haven't heard about it yet, I'll go ahead and post a link to it down below in the description of this video. I made a video, of course, about that as well, because, you know, my channel is essentially all StarCraft 2 at this point. At least for now. I was actually thinking about that, right? So, there's a lot of RTS games on the horizon. The most notable one being Stormgate, of course, by the guys at Frost Giant. Beta for that game is supposed to start up sometime next year. What do you think this channel looks like an exact year from now? I am really hoping. Like, I don't think StarCraft 2 is going anywhere. 2023 should be just fine for SC2. But, yeah, I really wonder if maybe next year from now we're gonna have an entirely different, well, main game on the channel. Do you think that's possible? I've been maining, I guess, quote-unquote maining StarCraft 2 for a decade. Like, literally a decade at this one. Anyways, good drop right here inside of the main base. Nice micro here as well, coming out of Astrea. He snipes one of the tanks, couple of SCVs as well. Another Stalker wants to join the party. Another 2 Stalkers want to join the party, but not really getting a whole lot done. One Adept over here at the front also being obnoxious. Anyhow, only time will tell, guys. Oh, Raven in the main base. Okay. Getting sniped here eventually, I believe. No? Oh, I think it could have fired. Feel like those Stalkers could have fired anyways. Medevac drop here in the back of the natural as well. Trying to get some work in. Units on the other side of the map, except for one Stalker, get recalled. They're needed here as well. Microing that one back too. Not today, ByuN. Keep running. Keep running, little Stalker. Don't give up now. Okay. Bunch of lost mining time, though. Yeah, those probes were not mining there for quite a while. That does mean that actually this aggression, I think, is a bit of a wash. Despite the fact that a siege tank ended up going down, not a huge set of losses right there for Terran. I mean, he lost more units here than Astrea has, but he also got 4 Stalkers, and he forced the mining time for a very long while away from that mineral line over here. Robo Bay coming up on the back of this too from Astrea, so he'll be teching up here very shortly towards some of those higher tier units. Obviously, Colossi go hand in hand with Stalkers, but I don't think any Protoss player has ever gotten upset of, well, making a disruptor, especially someone like Astrea, who's a big fan of those Purification Novas. Should be a Colossus, though. Yep. Colossi are just really nice, right? Generally speaking, Terrans will go for a timing attack here. And this timing attack is with a relatively small amount of units. So when the fights get bigger and more chaotic, dodging against all of those balls is very difficult, right? Those disruptors. Don't lose the... that's sloppy. That's sloppy. Anyways, dodging against all of those disruptors becomes more and more tricky, but the Colossi will be able to put in a lot more sustained damage. And even though it's a relatively vulnerable unit too, not as vulnerable as the disruptor, so having that in the mix is very nice. So what Astrea is doing here with his Stalker ball is just trying to buy time, right? So if ByuN decided to go for a move out, right now would be the time. He doesn't necessarily have to. But yeah, if he wanted to go for a move, this would have bought enough time for that Colossus to be popping out. There it is. The skyscraper itself. Anyways, the only way to find out what the channel will be like in a year from now, guys, is to hit the subscribe button. Haha, gotcha. I know that about half of the people that watch my videos aren't actually subscribed to the channel. So, I mean, I don't want to be... I don't want to do that YouTuber thing where I guilt trip you into subscribing. If you want to sub, that's fine. If you don't, that's okay too. But, I recommend you do. I'm totally unbiased, though. Definitely have absolutely no say in the matter at all. Raven once again popped back in. Okay, big fight over here in the middle now, though. The Colossus, yeah, hunting down whatever it can, just walking over that siege tank. It doesn't deal any crush damage, but that would be kind of cool now that I think of that. Extended thermal lance not done just yet, so those Colossi not at their maximum fire range. But, or range. Raven did end up going down, by the way. Honestly, this Terran army is looking tiny. It's 9 Marauders and 10 Marines. I mean, there's a lot of SCVs, but Astrea has got a much bigger force. Maybe that fight earlier in the game, even though I thought it was a bit of a wash, worked out for Astrea quite a bit better there because of the amount of army that he had left over at the end of things. Those Colossi now firing at a very long distance as well. 20 SCVs go down. Wow, okay, this might just be game over here. Yeah, that's just too much, isn't it? 23 SCVs. 28 actually in total here. 8 probes on the other side of the map. No 4th Nexus. I was gonna say, I wouldn't mind seeing one of those go up, and right as I said it, thank you, Astrea, for making me look smart. I appreciate that. Okay, now we're gonna go into the main base. This is a very Marauder-heavy army. Yeah, so now there's 13 Marauders available. Marauders are good against everything here that the Protoss has. Quite a few Stalkers, quite a few Medevacs up in the air as well. Yeah, Marauders. Ooh. Hold up. Sorry, what did they say? Question mark, tech issue, draw, regame? Okay, that's funny. So I think there must have been a pause in the game, as there was a technical issue, and then ByuN was like, yeah, draw, regame. Tech issue resolved, ready to go, go. Cheeky little ByuN. Yeah, I don't think this is a regame, gun. But good try. Good try. It's actually funny how, like, a lot of the pro gamers get really stressed out when they're at a tournament, right? For obvious reasons. You're playing for a lot of money. I actually hold that thought here for a moment, because this is a lot of Marauders, actually. Is there enough for Protoss to get through this? Or sorry, for Terran to get through? Well, actually, for both. Shouldn't have corrected myself, man. Could have sounded so smart before I started correcting myself. Okay, so that was enough for ByuN to push that back. Alright, anyways, I think that gives us a moment to discuss what I wanted to say. There's a lot of pro gamers that get very stressed out at tournaments. Because obviously they traveled halfway across the world to be there at the event. And then they're playing for a lot of money as well at this point in this phase of the tournament. So it is understandable that players get a little bit stressed. But yeah, you always have those guys as well that have played so many tournaments. This seemed like a pretty laid-back joke from ByuN, right? That just, well, they still care, but they, at the very least, they behave like they are, you know, in full control of everything and they're pretty relaxed. And I think actually it's very important. Usually when players get stressed, like stress is good for a couple reasons, right? It keeps you very focused. Obviously, adrenaline helps you stay very alert. But we also see players making a lot of mistakes when they do get very stressed out while playing a game. And it's very easy to then accidentally beat yourself up mentally, right? And especially when you're playing a series, it's really important to keep your cool. Can't believe actually ByuN is still looking quite alright here. I mean, nah, he's not looking quite alright, but at the very least he's still alive. The problem is he's still stuck on the unit comp that he's got. He does have a couple of ghosts added into the mix right now. Those ghosts are going to be super helpful against the zealots. Okay. Enhanced shockwaves. Somehow, some way, he managed to afford that one too. There's no upgrades for Astrea yet. He's just about to finish up ground weapons level 1. So there are still definitely nice advantages here that ByuN has. His upgrades are looking a little bit better. And in general, his unit comp is also good. If he would have still been stuck on just Marines and Marauders... Okay, well this is good. Yeah, if he was just stuck on those low tier units and he didn't mix in any Ghost yet, this would have been very hard to pull off. Difficult and expensive to make that transition, but... Okay, good Widowmine. Good EMP as well. Whew, look at all the shields removed out of those Protoss units. Apparently ByuN though looked at that and he's like, nope. I don't think ByuN has seen the 5th Nexus yet, so that 5th Nexus is about a third of the way done here. Astrea needs to be careful. Okay, a couple of Zealots coming in from the north as well. Disruptor there does connect with a couple of the Marauders. Vikings, once again in the dead space. I love the Viking movement here. He keeps on trying to, well, he gets the Nexus there, but he keeps on trying to kill the Colossi as well. Honestly, ByuN is a bit of a madman. The fact that he just got that Nexus is pretty nuts. Big Zealot counterattack, though. I think Astrea is respecting the hell out of those Ghosts. Love the position right there of that small group of Marines and Marauders. Yeah, they're going to have to continue running right now, and honestly, this may have been a bit of an overextension. Astrea realizing that retreating with these units is going to be very difficult. Snipes and concussive shells. Yeah, very helpful when it comes to getting rid of those zealots here. Okay. Now, this is maybe where those nerfs do come into the play a little bit, right? Where you're looking at this and you're like, ha! Sending in all of the zealots is a great idea because it worked this one time in one of my ladder games. And then you try it out against someone like ByuN. A little bit difficult. That unit positioning is everything. And look at that. He's already anticipating an additional Zealot run by as well. Sorry, Zealot. There's another one. No. Careful, lads. Okay. Well, at the very least, they... Okay. At the very least, got 2 of the Widowmines. The rest of the Protoss army maneuvering up north. Double upgrades here coming up as well for Astrea now, who's got enough money. ByuN does not get any additional upgrades here. Pretty decent detonation there. Ghost also forced to move forward because of that Disruptor. And now suddenly those Zealots, okay, this is what he was looking for. Now they find themselves a good amount of damage. Liberators can clean this up eventually. Reinforcing Terran units might be able to help out in that department too, but... Yeah, this is rough. That is a lot of losses. Okay, that is what Astrea was looking for. That may very well seal the deal. Although, I'm saying that ByuN's army is still massive. 100 supply right here versus 110. Good positioning here on those Widowmines as well. He's going to be able to cut off the Protoss player from their 5th Nexus. I mean, he can move over here, but those Widowmines, yeah, good detonations here. He's already killed the Nexus too. Good dodge right there on that Disruptor Ball. A lot of probes end up going down here as well. You know what? Okay, now we go for that drop. Yeah. Couple of Ghosts. No, don't forget about the Ghosts. Anyways, big drop into the main base. A recall here used on a couple of the Protoss heavy hitters. But is that even enough? I don't think it is. No, the Protoss army has to now awkwardly move around. Oh my god, ByuN. ByuN. Oh, he goes after the Purification Nova, and he does snipe the Disruptor before it connects. Once again, now using the Sim City here of the Protoss against them. ByuN picks up, gets it out of there. One of the medevacs got sniped, but it was one without any units in it, I believe. Problem is, ByuN has not been looking at home for a long time. Nah. He has not got a lot of economy. And despite killing one of the Nexi of the opponent and like 50 probes just now, or I guess 20 probes now, he's still economically very far behind. But his army is big. 94 army supply. Okay, versus... Well, I mean, that fight is making things a little bit more complex, but there's a large army here for Terran. A slightly bigger one, too. Zealots here, once more, split off from the rest of the pack, going after SCVs, and they kill 14 of them. This is a little bit overly ambitious. Good looking right there, though, by Astrea. Manages to get back. Hey, look! Cybercore in a little bit of trouble. Pylons, though, are the priority here to try and prevent additional Protoss reinforcements. At this point in the game, you don't really care about having to warp in a bunch of Zealots. They're pretty damn good. ByuN on his last leg here. Turns out, it's a very large leg. He's got a hefty chunk of Terran. But, yeah, I don't think it's going to be enough. Good force fields over there as well. Love that. I wonder if the double upgrades are maybe a little too much here. Astrea has got... Yeah, he needs to repower a bunch of this stuff here. He's got a bunch of production, and he's got a new Nexus here, so I think he'll probably be okay here in the end. They're still reinforcing Terran army, though. Yeah, he's mining. He's mining. I want to believe. A comeback here would be huge. Especially after he asked to draw, right? Tongue-in-cheek earlier. Yeah, Astrea doesn't really want to move up a ramp where he knows there's going to be Widow Mines and a bunch of Marauders with the high ground advantage. Dark Shrine is a definite good idea here. Where'd the main command center go? Wait, did he lose a command center? What? When did that die? Interesting. I'm gonna... Hold up. When did that command center die? I'm gonna go all the way back. Did those Zealots... Ah, okay. So the Zealots must have... I see, I see. So while the big drop was happening in the main base... Really? Okay. These lads over here. Right next to the face of Samwise. Up. Okay, we're going back to the 18-minute mark. That's where we were. Anyways, apparently those couple of Zealots just hacked and sliced away at the command center and made the best of it. Fair enough. Smells like Terran here, doesn't it? Those guys, man, they were here, hugging the watchtower not too long ago. Valiant effort here, though, from ByuN. I could have sworn he was dead like 10 minutes ago. Oh, here we go again. ByuN's very good at deciding those YOLO moves. He now recognizes that the entire Protoss army is on the other side of the map, so he's like, you know what? I'm gonna load my stuff up and try and force a base race. Last time I checked, Terran structures can fly, Protoss structures cannot. So, okay, instant recoil here on most of the disruptors. That's not the entire Protoss army, though. Oh, okay, good detonation there. Double medevac kill, triple medevac kill. Yeah, good effort here from ByuN. He made that look close. In a game that really shouldn't have looked very close at all. But GG is golden. It's Astrea who gets a point on the board. Next up, Moondance. Series is tied up right now, 1-1. No cheeky wall off this time around here from Astrea, although there is a good position for it. The one probe in the main base of the Terran player just got locked in. I'm sorry, buddy. This is where you will live out your final moments. I know. It's sad, dude. Bury the probe. Send out to scout the Terran Dominion. And scouting he has. Scouting he is. But this is where he'll die. I don't know. It's very sad. Merry Christmas, Perry. Double gas opener right here from ByuN. So he's going to be going into a quick factory. Never forget Perry, okay? Okay, another probe. Ooh. Barry 2.0. What are we doing, Astrea? I don't think this is a 5 mineral peace offering in exchange for Perry. I don't think that's what it is. Okay. So, ByuN sending that Reaper with its little jetpacks down his own main base. It's a blessing and a curse, because if it would have just taken the main exit, I think it would have scouted that it was a second probe trying to be annoying. But Astrea not letting, Perry's sacrifice go in vain. He's apparently now planted a gateway in his opponent's pocket base. And it's very unlikely that ByuN is going to scout this. Like, you don't expect it here. You normally don't have a second scouting worker. For Protoss, that is. You don't normally send a second probe towards the other side of the map. This Reaper, not getting a whole lot done. It's trying to figure out what's happening. So it's just a good old chrono boost right there on the warp gate research. Triple gateway here for Astrea. He's going to be able to quickly warp in those units instead of his opponent's pocket base. And if he can get a... Like, if he can, for example, catch the Cyclone, that would be amazing, right? If he can get a jump on some of those Terran units and just snipe them, that is really good. ByuN right now actually rolling it down the ramp as well. Obviously, with the double gas opener, with the quick factory, you do really want to get some damage done. So he does need a couple units at home, Astrea that is, but there's a good chance that... Okay, just having units over here is already going to pull those units from the Terran player back. So sometimes the best defense is the offense. No shield battery over here though, so that is a little bit risky. Siege tank is popping in just a moment. Okay, how many units do we want to have? He can start warping in a second round here very shortly. Ugh. Unlucky first shot, accidentally hitting the plate there. Very, very nicely done here by ByuN. Punishing that mistake right away, and now he sieges up the tank as well. Okay, lock on right here. Beautiful. Trying to out-micro ByuN. Ha! Don't you know who I am? He shouts. I'm Micro Jackson! Okay, maybe that's not what he shouts, but... Yeah, he's really good at controlling his units, that's for sure. Siege tank over here, now in a little bit of trouble, but repair coming in clutch! Pulling the perfect amount of SCVs there as well, just to keep that siege tank popped up and happy. Popped up and happy? Topped off and happy is what I'm... Anyways, doesn't matter. Yeah, this is rough. This is really rough here for Astrea. I mean, I say that. Let me actually flip the scoreboard there, because apparently I had my players in the wrong place. I say that Astrea still has a good amount of economy. He wants to go for his own pocket base right now, but was this early game pressure really worth it? You gotta keep in mind that ByuN also went for that, delayed natural expo of his own. So even though the traits have been phenomenal here, I'm mostly concerned for the next attack here from ByuN, right? So he could wait until upgrades are done. But Astrea needs to hold on. So he's fine economically here, but he just has been losing so many units. Siege tanks here unsieged, a lot of damage. GG. Not enough stuff here for Astrea to hold on. Next up, inside and out. Match point right here for ByuN. Pretty happy with the way that previous game went, so he decides to go for a second gas really quickly once more. I wonder if that was the correct call there from Astrea. So Astrea very deliberately decided to go for that push, right? With that proxy gateway in his opponent's pocket base. After he scouted the quick second gas there. And I don't want to doubt Astrea's decision making, but obviously when the Terran player does go for a quick second gas, they're going to have more units than if they would have decided to go for a quicker expansion, right? I mean, at the very least, they will have more attacking units and less SCVs. I wonder if that was the right call there. I wonder what that would have looked like if ByuN decided to go for, well, just a quick expo on the low ground with a single gas in the main base. There would have been more Marines maybe, but probably no siege tank yet. Anyhow. Cybercore in main base. No walling off this time around over here either. Although this is still pretty good, right? This is a wall off between all of these structures. And, well, if it wasn't already a wall off there, the Stargate will seal the deal. Although there's no way that a Reaper would be able to squeeze in between that pipe over there and then the Cybercore. Anyhow, Stargate coming up here. ByuN gets into the opponent's main base. He hasn't seen the tech just yet. Yeah, with the positioning right there of that gateway and the Adept. He really wants to know. Okay, he goes back in. Nicely done. Good movement. Very nice movement. So you will see that indeed it is going to be a Stargate. Important scout because you need to know what you need to counter. So previously we saw a bunch of Phoenixes. Obviously Oracle first is definitely not unorthodox at all. So what is it going to be? It's an Oracle. Okay. How many Reapers do we have? 2 Reapers here and 1 Hellion. This is not Terran versus Terran, last time I checked. It's a bit of an investment, though. Cyclone coming up in the meantime as well for ByuN. Good timing on that. Should be out by the time that the Oracle can get across. Beautiful grenade there as well. ByuN's micro is just... Like, there's a lot of players that are good at micro, right? Like, you can't be a high-level StarCraft player and not be good at micro, for obvious reasons. Hellion, in the meantime, by the way, also got sniped. But you can't be a high-level StarCraft player and be bad at micro, just period. You can go really far just playing macro every game, but you can't be a top-level player without at least decent micro. But there's good micro, and then there's really good micro, right? And it's difficult to learn. Like, ByuN has been... He's been good at micro ever since, like, I don't know. I think he won the World Championships in 2016. And he showcased some phenomenal micro in that Grand Finals, I remember. He must have been good at micro since, like, 2014. It almost feels like a natural skill, you know? Where you look at a situation and you can make those really quick snap-second decisions. And maybe it's something that you can practice. I mean, it's definitely something you can practice, but... There's definitely a natural tendency, right? Some players are really good at strategic thinking on the fly, and then there's other players that are really good at controlling their units, and then there's a lot of guys that are really good at just making a lot of stuff. And all of that sounds very logical, but... Well, players tend to not get that much better at micro, is what I'm getting at. Like, we've had many players before that were really good at micro and then got better at macro, right? That is not uncommon at all. But the other way around, it doesn't seem to happen all too often. Where someone is really good at macro and then really improves their micro. I mean, me, for example, my micro sucks. I've been playing this game for a long time, okay? I've gotten pretty decent just making a lot of units. But then you do hit a skill ceiling in, like, yeah, the bottom 100 of Grandmaster League. I mean, you can go pretty far just, you know, playing macro pretty much every game, but... At least historically, the vast majority of my games, I have won just by making more units than the opponent. I haven't won a lot of games because of excellent control. Although I did get better at it, actually, over the last... Like, I've been playing a lot more aggressive builds. So I have gotten better at the early game cheeses, I suppose, and the early game micro, but... Yeah, you do seem to need some sort of knack for it, where you just look at a situation and you know, okay, this is what I do. Obviously, you can do those micro trainers in the StarCraft 2 arcade. It's actually a lot of micro practice. You know what? I think you can get better at micro. But there are definitely pro gamers out there that naturally seem to be better at it. Not the best start here at all for Astrea, guys. Starting to get a little bit concerned here. He's got a good amount of units, yes. He's got a 3rd Nexus, yes. But what are you going to do with these Zealots right now? You can try and march at this Terran base. Not a bad call. If ByuN sits behind the wall, I think he'll be fine. So ByuN is splitting up his units right now because he wants to be safe against the Phoenixes. He doesn't know where they're coming from. He scans the natural right now, sees a whole lot of nothing. It's tricky, right? What exactly do you expect? Okay, ByuN right now. Revealed once again. I think these units are waiting until the Terran makes a move. I don't see them charging right here at the ramp. That's not a great call. Okay, so, well, Terran army. Feeling a little bit more ambitious. My life for ire. Not my wife for hire. That's a different thing. Anyways, are we gonna get the zealots in? Are we gonna try and set up a sandwich? ByuN must have gotten, yeah, a sneak peek at those units right now. Sees a few of them retreating. Okay. Not exactly sure what Astrea's plan was. Maybe he wanted to take his zealots on a walk, you know? Warming up is important. They're gonna have to fight eventually, so... cold muscles are a bad idea. Okay, that was really nice. Picking up a couple of those units. Sentry goes down, no? Revelation once more. Okay, that was the last revelation, though, because Oracle just got sniped. Ground weapons level 1 is finished up. That makes these zealots substantially more powerful. We're incredibly zealot heavy, by the way. Only 2 gases. So this is kind of like that Haas build order, but then minus all the Nexi. So he's only at 51. What an interesting little build. We're only at 51 workers here, and now another gas gets added on. But I wonder if that's because these gases in the main base are already, nah, they'll be around for a while. Interesting. Probably because he wants to go into disruptors, but he's very zealot heavy. 36 zealots, but not really taking any engagements. That is weird, isn't it? Oh, careful. Don't lose another Phoenix. Okay. ByuN in the meantime, by the way, just on 2 command centers and 5 barracks. So he's pumping out a ton of units here at once. Combat shields is done. Stimpack is done. Concussive shells are gonna finish up here very shortly. Look at that cool Cyclone driving backwards. What a badass. Here's the problem, though. There's so many zealots still available. Astrea has been warping in zealot after zealot. Beautiful liftoffs as well, actually. Opening the front door right here for these zealots to be able to attack this a little bit more conveniently. Do you have enough right here as Astrea? I think you do, right? That is so many freaking zealots. I think he wanted to go for an attack and then he realized, wait a second, my opponent is never actually expanding out of this. If it is one of those delayed 2-base all-ins, the last thing I want to do is charge at that ramp and engage it before he gets to my site. Phoenix is right now also helping the main base out quite a bit. Okay, you can definitely charge at this, though. Yep, here we go. Charge closing the distance. A lot of Terran units now getting sliced up. There's the reinforcements, though, coming up. Time to disengage once again. Yeah, the zealot change they made all those years ago was fantastic, right? The fact that zealots can now actually disengage. I know it's been a very long time. Okay, the boys are even pulled right now for Astrea, who's going for... or sorry, for SCVs here. ByuN is pulling the boys, that is. He's going for disruptors here, too. So that is really nice. Once again, Widow Mines get lifted up. There's the Purification Nova. Okay, he decides to pick up and get on out of there instead as he realizes he can't snipe that. But do you hear it in the background? Is that the American national anthem? Okay, we're going to game number 5. Okay, so here we are. I was originally thinking of only casting the game on Stargazers between these two, but then I figured, you know what? Let's do the entire Best-of-5. Even though, yeah, I know a lot of people might not necessarily have time to watch a long video this weekend. I know a lot of you also do. So I figured let's just do the entire series. It's been a very fun one so far, very back and forth. You can see that these guys are very evenly matched. That takes us to the final game, though, and it takes place on Stargazers. A tricky map. We've obviously seen ByuN go for a lot of, well, very interesting builds on this map. We've seen him go for very quick command centers. We've seen him go for very quick triple command center as well, where he takes both of the bases that are easily available. But he usually only does so in a series when he's, you know, if this would have been like, I don't know, the previous map, maybe he would have gone for something a little bit more greedily. But the last thing you want is get eliminated out of a tournament because you went for a command center first and you played too greedily, right? It's just not necessarily the best move. So once more, we've got ourselves a double gas right here for ByuN. In the meantime, on the other side of the map, gas just finished up here for Astrea. We're going to be going for a Nexus on the low ground at 20 supply, it seems, and then also a 20 supply Cyber Core. Technically, maybe a little bit greedy. If you want to play this slightly safer, you'd actually go for the Cyber Core first. Problem, of course, is if ByuN decided to go for a super aggressive build, or even just like a proxy barracks somewhere, which he's definitely not shying away from, he's already shown it in this series, it might get a little bit annoying to, yeah, counter those very first Reapers, right? Because your Stalkers and your Adepts, they're not going to be coming out as early. ByuN sending an SCV all the way towards the bottom of the map. Is he gonna... No? Aw. I think it actually would be quite smart to go for the gold base. Because at this point, he's been selling the story over the last couple of games about, you know, how he plays the double gas opener right now and the quick tech route. Just going for... Alright. A command center over here on the low ground instead. Maybe he didn't want to put all of his eggs in one basket. That's funny, though. When this probe goes down to the low ground, if the probe goes down to the low ground, which it won't. Sorry, Perry. Yeah. Sorry. It is what it is, man. Anyways, that would be a funny little thing to see over here. I think he was just scouting to make sure that the Protoss did not take it super quickly themselves. Astrea definitely can be a bit of a madman. We've seen that as well on Cosmic Sapphire, where players do go for a very, very quick gold base as well. I feel like at this stage in the tournament, Astrea unlikely to bust it out, but ByuN is making 100% sure that he's not going to be caught with his pants down. Okay, so it's time to start roaming the map again. Map control currently in favor here of our Terran player, but the Phoenixes are once more coming up as well, and there's the Twilight Council. Fully expecting Charge to once more be the first upgrade we're going to see out of that Twilight. Just makes a lot of sense. Plus, we've seen this... from Astrea before. Okay, good snipe over there. I don't want to lose the Hellion. Yeah. Don't like that too much. Nope. Not a big fan. 2 probes right there. I guess the third one with Perry going down as well. But at the cost of... no, it's not a great situation at all. We do have a Cyclone inside of the main base. Has ByuN scouted the Stargate? He has scouted the Stargate, so that's important. Charge, by the way, getting chronoed once more. And obviously on this map with this dead space between the mains, right? You can dart in between the bases pretty easily. You cannot afford to lose any Phoenixes at this point. You really want to try and keep those alive, but... I mean, if Astrea wanted to go for a gold base, right now would not be a terrible time for it, because he's going to have the map control here for the next couple minutes. It's unlikely that ByuN is going to get too adventurous. I mean, he might. ByuN is very much the kind of guy who will send the units out, but it's always a little bit dangerous to move without Stimpak and without combat shields and all the rest of it. So, if you want to go for a gold, right now would be the time to get it up unscouted. Really, ByuN, are we going to go for a move right now? I like how I said that. And then he's like, yep, Lowko, let me prove you wrong right away. Charge is not too long, though, from finishing. Still a little while, I guess, but... No shield battery at the front either. How many gateways are we on? We're at 3 gateways. Oh, we're going to march back home. Okay. Such a ByuN move. Such a ByuN move. I love that, though. It's like, you have map control, buddy? We'll see about that. I'll just march with whatever I've got. This is what happens when you know the opponent very well. You know exactly the timing of when charge finishes. Apparently, it's right around the 5-minute mark. So, when the charge finishes right around the 5-minute mark, that's apparently the point where you need to go back home. A little bit before that, preferably, but imagine if charge would have been chronoed a bunch of additional times, and all of those Marines getting picked off for essentially free would be very, very painful. Anyhow, map control still in favor of Astrea. But, Stimpak's finishing very soon. I'm expecting concussor shells and all that as well on the back of it. Doesn't necessarily need to, actually. It doesn't have any Marauders yet, but it's one of those upgrades you don't want to forget about, that it's pretty cheap. For now, we're just going to go for the combat shields and the +1 infantry weapons. There's the first force for Astrea. Is he brave enough to go double forge? Not yet, I don't think. No, he's playing a similar game as he did in the previous one, but with a bit of a twist. Very slight twist, though. Actually, yeah. He's still only on 2 gases. Now the additional gateways are coming up as well. I felt like those came up a little bit quicker in the previous game, but I might be mistaken in that department. You should be able to get a very healthy amount of units out. Yeah, this is a good chunk of zealots once again. So there's barracks 4 and 5. This is almost a copy of the previous game. So rather than going for a third command center... okay, beautiful liftoff there. Rather than going for a third command center, ByuN has decided to put his resources to additional barracks production instead. Now, if Astrea sniffs this out, that would be a really big tell for him. But honestly, you can probably just look at the amount here. He has seen the lack of a third CC, which may be enough. Okay, he's trying to snipe one of the medevacs. Nicely done. Gets it as soon as it popped out of the... That was a fresh one too, man. That had like the fresh paint smell and everything too. Anyways, one of the medevacs got sniped right away. And now he's just hanging out here, waiting for the reinforcements. Terran thinking about going for a move out. And there's the boys being pulled. Astrea charges at the boys as they are pulled away. Absolutely reading his opponent like a book, bringing a sentry to the party as well. Reinforcing units also get picked off inside of the main base here. And this is all looking really nice right now for Astrea, assuming he can actually hold that big attack that's currently moving across. Stimpack was activated as well to make those Marines run a little bit faster, and they're gonna start packing a punch right now. All of the units that Protoss has, okay, they will be recalled. They were on the other side of the map. That does mean, though, that the Natural is in a lot of trouble, but he's already killed 26 SCVs as well. It's pretty much only Zealots here. Do they have +1? They do have +1, so that's big. Does he have enough to charge at this? Keep in mind, there's not enough medevacs to really pick any of this up. Good positioning right here, though, by ByuN, making the best of this situation, but he has got nowhere to go. Big losses right here on the side of the Korean Terran. These medevacs, they're not going to be able to call it a day here at some point either, as they will get picked off. And now all of those Protoss units, well, they won't be able to march across the map once more. I don't think he's going to be able to pull the probes. It's not a great idea. But keep in mind, Terran is still stuck on just 2 command centers. Things are starting to look a little bit desperate here for ByuN. 27 SCVs in total. Okay. He's still got a scary army, and we've seen what he can do with a small amount of units in the earlier games of this particular best-of-5. Okay, getting one of the Zealots at the very least. Nicely done. Last game we saw him transitioning towards Disruptors. I wouldn't be surprised if that's something that Astrea wants to do again, but obviously he needs to remake the Robo. Careful. This was just a scout, I guess, but... not ideal. Anyways, he needs to rebuild the Robo, so no Disruptors on the back of this anytime soon. It's just pure Zealot. Maybe this is Astrea saying, yo, I know your micro is really good, but if I'm just in your face with these melee units, what exactly are you going to micro? Ideally, against Zealots in these numbers, you get yourself some Ghosts out, but when you're only on 2 command centers, you can't really afford Ghosts because they're really, really expensive. Astrea splitting up his army, though. He needs to be careful, because there's a lot of Zealots ready to go in for the counterattack and for the run-by, but... again, that is a lot of Terran army. Mules are pretty nice. Does he have enough to keep this wall alive? He does. Oh, Phoenixes. Okay, miscontrolled there. Mispositioned. Here comes ByuN. Attack wave number 2. Couple SCVs once again joining this party as well. Problem is, if you wait too long, they're gonna start making structures. So you do want to engage this, but that's a lot of good Widow Mines. Beautiful spread as well on those Widow Mines. Massive detonations right there on those Zealots. Once again, Robo facility unpowered. He doesn't have a good amount of detection here to really see those Widow Mines either, so needs to be careful. Nexus now on the low ground ends up going down. Astrea did make a 4th Nexus in the bottom right-hand corner, but once more, ByuN is going to back off into one of those Protoss alleyways, I suppose. Look at the choke point here. Absolutely fantastic for the Korean Terran, but there might just be enough units here regardless, because our Protoss player has got so many Zealots that he slices all of that up. But at the cost of a healthy chunk of his economy as well. Now Astrea is reduced to only 29 probes. Okay. Let's see. He's going back to Phoenix production. Yeah, Zealots are great, but you can't really squeeze a lot more value out of them, right? Like, you can decide when you want to engage, but that's really about it. The way that ByuN is maneuvering around his army and is abusing the Protoss Sim City against him, That's really nice. That's not really an option you have with those Zealots. The Zealots are like, yes, fight. That's it. That's the entire move. If he bleeds out a couple more Zealots, the game is going to get very tricky here for Astrea. Phoenixes intercept one of the medevacs. They will get the kill. Nicely done. Second medevac over here as well. A little bit exposed, but ByuN decides to boost that one to safety. Bottom right-hand corner was acquired, though, and that's a big one. ByuN has not scouted that one at all, though there is a medevac heading on over in that direction. Yeah, he probably assumes that it's taken, so... Protoss army is pretty far away from that position. Whether or not he's defending his own natural or he's hanging out in his opponent's natural, he's far away from trying to defend the bottom right-hand corner. No pylon here to reinforce it either. Different follow-up this time around from Astrea, by the way, as he decides to go for the Templar Archives together with Sonic Storm. Sonic Storm is a super nice ability to have, especially when the Terran least expects it, but takes a while and it's expensive. Recall now being used. A couple of Zealots here get recalled towards the bottom right-hand corner to try and keep that alive, but this is now opening the door right here for the Terran army to go in for attack wave number 3. Okay. Is there enough? High Templar do not have Storm yet. It's a little while away from finishing. Widow Mines, once again, positioning themselves nicely, forcing those Zealots to take a lot of splash damage, and once more, that was a good hit. Zealots in the main base, trying to get the most out of this situation as well as they back off. They want to create a surround. There's a big storm, though. Sonic Storm at this point is finished, and another massive storm connects. ByuN did not expect that ability to be done, so he ends up taking a lot of damage. Another storm. Do we have enough? We do have enough energy, but ByuN picks up and gets it out of there. He needs to be careful. All of the units in the low HP medevac, but Phoenixes decide to back off. Bottom right-hand corner still available. ByuN only on 16 workers here. Obviously, these command centers can fly, so he can reposition it elsewhere if he needs to. And if this game goes on for long enough, he is going to need it. Not all heroes wear capes, but these guys do. Getting a lot of value. Suddenly showing up and suddenly dealing a tremendous amount of damage. ByuN splitting up his army once again. But he knows now that he is at a race against the clock, right? He's in a race against the clock because the economy here from the Protoss is still much bigger. He's brought a lot of SCVs towards the other side of the map. Right now, he doesn't do so anymore because he doesn't really have any. But I wonder if he should. One final hurrah, just one final assault. It might just be the right call, though. These Marines here in the bottom right corner may very well be evil. They may very well be able to even the tide here. 9 probes end up going down. That is like a quarter of the economy. That does mean, though, that those Marines are not part of the main army over here. Widow Mines get sniped. Storm over here to force those biological units to back off. Nicely done. Zealots, actually. Okay, one of them on the watchtower, scouting that units did decide to load into that medevac. He's still going to unload, calling the bluff right here. No Nexus to be seen anywhere anymore on the low ground. Okay, Zealots eventually are going to be able to clean this up together with the Phoenixes, and I think that those Marines, they're not going to be able to go back home either. Okay, ByuN ready to, well, walk into the opponent's main base. He's got to be so careful. Good feedbacks right now, and beautiful storm. Forcing that Terran army once again to back off. Feedback obviously removes the energy out of those medevacs, which is huge because a lot of those bio army, or a lot of that bio army here is at low hit points. Income advantage, though, is really telling a story right now. ByuN has been trading well, cost efficiently at least. But he doesn't have income to really justify it. What he did do, though, is fly the main command center on over towards the triangle base. So at the very least, his income is going to look a little bit better than it did a few minutes ago. Those mules are still very, very helpful. I wonder if going into a Dark Shrine would be in the books right here for Astrea, because if he can get a DT out, that would be fantastic. I guess he wanted to prioritize the other type of Templar. ByuN looking for an angle right now. He's moving around. He's trying to find an angle where he can fight. But he's been pushed back all the way towards his own bases. The High Templar are ready to land storms again if they have an opportunity to do so. Obviously, at some point, ByuN can no longer, well, retreat any further, because then he's going to lose all of his economy. Is this the time where you want to engage? Well, he no longer has an option, as the Zealots have already pulled the trigger. Good zoning right here, though, by the American Protoss player. Trying his very best to land the juiciest storms he can, and now with good zoning, he's not going to be able to, ByuN that is, get back into the third base. And with those workers going down, it is indeed Astrea who moved on to the grand finals to face off against Raynor. Fantastic series. I hope you enjoyed watching it. Again, thank you for watching and happy holidays. Don't forget to smile, and I'll see you once again in the next one.